All right, good morning, everyone. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather. I do want to talk a little bit about the storms that we have going on this morning. I decided to go ahead and break in and go live to talk about a couple of things that I'm seeing here. I'm getting the feeling here, kind of the gut feeling, that we're starting to move these storms further east into more severe, capable territory, if you will. There are a couple of things that I'm seeing that have me a little bit concerned about this. Number one, the number of lightning strikes in this storm. It tells me that this storm is very quickly intensifying, and this is, of course, in Ellis County and eastern Ellis County down to southern Ellis County here. Of course, here's Ennis, and then as we look closer to the Bardwell kind of Avalon area here, really the Bardwell area, this is where I'm a little bit more concerned about some persistent rotation that we've been seeing. If we look at this, it looks like in the last few minutes, last couple of scans or so, maybe things are ramping down just a little bit. But just south of Avalon here, you see this little area of yellow. That's where we've seen some stronger winds. And as these winds have become stronger and they've kind of intensified over the last 10, 15 minutes or so, it has remained persistent that we are seeing that kind of rotation for this specific area. We'll watch this as this continues to track to the northeast here, and really, again, it's not out of the question that we could see tornadic activity. We don't have that now. We don't have a warning on this. The National Weather Service has been watching this for the last several minutes, and there's nothing immediately threatening here, but it is worth watching. And I know that I'm watching it closely, and so too is the National Weather Service. So that's Ellis County. As we go down into Hill County, another intense storm here. Again, lots of lightning here in the Hillsborough area. This storm will continue to move on to the east. And if we check the velocity here, again, not really seeing much rotation in this area. We might have to watch this little area right around west, but for the most part, I'm not seeing any kind of circulation. Really, when it comes to rotation and strong winds, that is limited to this Ellis County storm. So luckily, this area, it's not as intense at this very moment, but that will continue to move on to the northeast and will be worth watching over the next several minutes here. And if we take a more broad look, this is the line that we've been watching. This has been moving through, and behind the line, there's nothing going on, and you're done for the day. So Johnson County, this has pretty much cleared you. So Johnson County, there's nothing going on there. Venus and Midlothian clearing out right now. Blum clearing out as well. Itasca, you will be clear very soon. So as this continues to move on to the east, you're basically getting released from this threat, this concern. But in southern Ellis County, again, and I'm just seeing the lightning behind me, so if you see a flash on the back of my head, that's what that is. But again, we are seeing this bend in the line here. Probably some strong winds moving into the Blooming Grove area right now. We'll take another look at this velocity view. And yes, it looks like we could have some stronger winds blowing into the Blooming Grove area there. But again, this section moving towards Bardwell, towards Ennis here, towards Valley Farms, eventually Rice, Alma there. We will be watching that to make sure that this rotation that we saw earlier this morning does not ramp up. Because again, this is the most intense part of the storm. Again, you can see all the lightning strikes being recorded in this. I'm seeing in the chat here a report of severe wind in the Avalon area. So that's what we're seeing and what we're hearing, and that fits with the intense winds that have creeped up in the last several minutes. Timothy, you're saying unsure of a tornado. No reports of a tornado at this point, and I'm not seeing anything that indicates a tornado on radar right now. Rotation is pretty broad, pretty disorganized at this moment. That wasn't the story a few minutes ago, but it was a little more intense. But the good news is that that does appear to be ramping down just a little bit. And you can see that. You can see the little bit of yellow here that kind of swelled up as it moved from Milford towards Avalon. But just in the last few minutes, that has kind of weakened ever so slightly. But the way that we've seen these storms over the last several weeks, they swell up, they kind of weaken, and then they swell up again, and then they weaken. It's very easy, very possible to see these storms do that. And, the way that they can very quickly intensify, and they've done that this morning. And we kind of expected that, right? We expected these storms to pop up along the cold front, blow up, quickly intensify, and blow through. The good news, of course, being that if you're behind all of this, really there's nothing to be concerned about. But as this line moves through, at very least, there's going to be pockets of heavier rain. Definitely, again, in the Hillsborough area. We'll actually take a look and see where we might be looking at some hail at this point. Looks like really the biggest hail threat is south of Waxahachie here. So this is right along 55 between Nash and Neenah there towards Rager Springs. So could be some small hail. I don't think this is severe hail, so I don't think we're quite up to the 1 inch in diameter range, but could be some hail moving through towards the Rager Springs and Garrett Ennis areas as this continues to push off to the east. So this is the strongest storm we have right now. It is not warned. We do not have a severe thunderstorm warning. We really don't even have a watch at this point. There is a tornado watch that covers areas to our northeast, but for our area right here, we don't have any kind of severe alerts or anything of that sort at this time. Nothing that is screaming an imminent severe weather threat. But I did want to go ahead and start the live stream because this storm did appear to be intensifying so quickly. That appears to have somewhat weakened in the last few minutes, but I'm still concerned. You see this bowing shape here, and that tells me a couple of things. One, that there could be a wind threat intensifying for the Blooming Grove area, moving towards M House and Rice, and possibly northern portions of Corsicana here, though it looks like that may track more to the northeast. So it may move north of Corsicana, again, towards Rice, Alma, M House, that area. But the other thing is that when you get these winds that surge here, usually that's going to lead to some inflow pushing back into the storm, and that's where you can get your rotation. So let's go back to this velocity view and see what that tells us. And yes, so we do still have some possible winds here. It does, again, look like we could be seeing, again, winds increasing right in the Rankin area. That's really where I would not like to see that intensifying at this time, because again, we get the increasing outbound winds, we could see some inbound winds increasing as well, and all of that could mean rotation for this area. But let me just say again, no imminent threat right now of severe weather in this area. Let's put this into motion here just so this area can see. And like I say, it's kind of moving in a northeasterly direction. And this whole system is getting pushed to the east. But now we have this northeasterly motion of this storm kind of taking on its own life cycle. And that, again, when you have storms that kind of start doing their own thing, that means that storm on its own can intensify more. So that's likely what we're experiencing here. And again, those storms can really intensify very quickly. As we go north, this is more of the hail threat here, moving to the southeast of Waxahachie. Here's 287 here. So right on 287 headed towards Garrett and Palmer there, northern portions of Ennis. This, I think, is where we're probably looking at the biggest hail threat at this time, as that continues to move off to the east as well. So this is Ellis County. Once again, if you're in Johnson County, there's nothing happening there. You're done for the day. So there's nothing going on. Johnson County, if you're heading up to Fort Worth is done. Downtown Dallas is done as well. Anywhere behind this line to the west of this is clear. There's nothing happening there. But plenty of lightning and thunder out there for sure. And I've got the dog right here that's not happy about that right now. The kiddos are probably waking up right now, may not be happy about it either. And I understand this is probably going to get into in the way of your morning commute plans. I know for right now, I've got to figure out, probably going to bother my wife, make her very unhappy to have to get my son up and moving and get him ready for school as I cover all of this. But as we continue to see this move east, further out to the east, especially northeast, the opportunity for severe weather does become more intense and more likely. So we'll just give you a really broad look here. And this is a pretty good line from Sulphur Springs down to Kaufman, down into Ellis and Hill counties here, and then on to the southwest. And I will tell you that this segment of the line at least, not looking very intense, and then up to the north, where the front has kind of overtaken things. What we've seen most of the morning is we had a lot of this that was behind this front. Well, now it seems to have kind of overtaken it. It's moving back into this warm, unstable air, and that, in fact, is causing us to start to see some of these more severe aspects of these storms. And okay, looking at the chat conversation right now. Okay, no discussion, no further discussion of this storm in Ellis County, northern Navarro County here. In this case, no news is good news. So we'll continue to watch this as it moves on to the east. But this does appear to be one of the more intense parts of this storm, the section down in Hill County as well, moving into western Navarro County. So we're getting to the point now where this is moving into the Ennis area. This is moving east of Hillsborough. Hillsborough will be clearing out pretty soon. Whitney, you're on the back side of this. So really the next areas that need to watch this is moving into Ennis now. Alma and Rice are next. Blooming Grove, it's moving through you. You're about to get a big push of heavy rain to your east, to your west rather, moving eastward. Corsicana will be in this pretty soon. Dawson and Hubbard as well. So this will continue off to the east. I'm seeing word of some power outages as well going on. And for the most part, these are loud storms. Some scattered hail possible. It doesn't look like we have any major hail systems going through, major hail cores at least, that are moving through. I think we could be looking at some small hail moving into the Ennis area. I would not be surprised there. But again, overall, I don't see anything that immediately has me too terribly concerned about that. So I think for the most part, we're okay at the moment. But again, I wanted to go ahead and start the live stream, go live, so that I could be on the air if and when this stuff started to really intensify and pick up strength as these continue to move off to the east. So I'm going to just do a quick little bit of personal business here. Okay. Again, gotta bother my bother my wife and get her to get our oldest son up and moving and getting ready to go to school. Hopefully things ramp down enough I can get him to up to the school here in the next several minutes. But and again, I know that this is probably going to interrupt those plans, especially for you here in Navarro County. Seems like everything is kind of centering over the Navarro County area over the next half hour or so. We'll see most of this moving through. My prediction was that around 7:30, I think that most of this will have moved off to the east. I think we can hold on to that. You're asking how fast the storms are moving. I don't have a speed for you. If I had to guess, we're probably clocking these around 30 miles per hour or so. They don't look to be moving too fast. I would say 30, maybe 35, because they don't look to be moving too quickly, but I think they are moving quick enough to where we don't really have much of a flood threat across our area. They're moving quick enough that, it's going to be pretty intense for, 10, 15 minutes or so, and then it moves out and you're done. So this storm in particular could be bringing some pretty heavy rain to these areas. And since it's moving a little more northeast, it may take a little longer to clear your area. But hey, I think for the most part, we're in a good position to be able to get these things out of here before we get too far into the day. And let me look at this message that just came in. Okay, so the heavier storms, the National Weather Service is advising that the heavier storms are bringing rain rates of 1.5 inches an hour, and moving quickly enough that there's not flooding issues. Should be minor and really confined to the typical low areas. So the flood-prone areas with these storms could be facing some issues. And that's really kind of standard with most situations, right? Where you have these flood-prone areas that you get these quick rain rates, you get these quick downpours, they move through, and then they kind of take care of things as well. Okay, just looking at the chat here, looking at some of your comments. Asking if Bardwell is clear with the rotation. We'll take another look at that here. Now that we've kind of gone over the overview, let's see if we can get that velocity view up here. So, okay, the good news is we've kind of cleared out the inbound winds, which is the green. That's that inflow. We've cleared that out, but we're still looking at some decent winds from Ennis down towards just east of Bird here, moving towards M House. So really Alma and Rice, the main areas of concern here. So the heavier winds, the stronger winds moving east now, really east northeast, and we still have a couple of these little notches here, but we're certainly not seeing the kind of rotation we were earlier this morning when I was closely monitoring this. So that has cleared out. That will be moving out of the South Metro area pretty soon, and then the storm down to, we'll check on this Hill County storm as well, just to make sure we don't see any squirreliness going on there. Squirreliness, of course, being a technical term. I see some gustier winds, maybe around Penelope up to Mertens, but not seeing any kind of rotation here. So I think we're clear there. Really, the bigger story, I think, might be the hail threat. So we'll take a look at that as well. Not really seeing any hail in Hill County. Up in Ellis County, that seems to have calmed down a little bit too. So I think these storms, I think they swelled up a little bit when they first got into some of this more unstable air. And then I think now that they're kind of behind that, or now that they've kind of swelled up and strengthened, I think they're kind of weakening. So hopefully we can keep this storm weak as it continues to move off to the east, get that through the Ennis area, get that out of here over in Henderson County, and then maybe that will spare some of our areas. Here's some pretty good thunder. Spare some of our areas in terms of the severe weather threat that we could be looking at this morning. As we put this into motion, again, you can see that these are moving pretty quickly here, not moving too fast, but fast enough that, again, we're not really looking at much of a hail threat, or excuse me, much of a flood threat this morning. But we still have a decent enough line that if you're in those flood-prone areas, a lot of rain falling pretty quickly. So those areas that are used to seeing flooding could have some problems across our area. And as we're watching, you notice that it looks like we're starting to see maybe the front move ahead of this again, or possibly an outflow boundary or something. And anytime anything moves ahead of these storms, it cuts it off from that inflow, from that unstable air, and that will generally mean that these storms are weakening. So that could be part of why we're seeing this line starting to kind of tamper down and chill out a little bit, kind of see things become a little less organized, which is always a good thing. Still some stronger winds moving towards Corsicana, Rice, Alma there, so don't discount that. And heavy rain moving towards Dawson Hubbard, could be some gustier winds in that area as well. But as this is moving into Navarro County, it looks like things have calmed down a little bit, and we're not looking at the kind of rotation we were looking at in this storm that is just south of Ennis here, and the hail that we were looking at in Hill County. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the live stream here. I've got to go make sure my son's getting up ready to go for school. I owe him a pair of pants that I washed last night. He wants to wear pants today, so I got to honor that promise. And we will continue to monitor this, but I wanted to bring up the live stream just in case that rotation and the hail threat continue to increase. But for now, these storms have weakened a little bit. Looks like we're out of the woods for the severe weather threat at this moment, but I will continue to monitor this and bring updates throughout the morning.